Welcome back to the Ben Zion podcast. I am here with a graphic designer, Jef Caine, in beautiful Encanto Park. It's a pretty nice day. It's actually the perfect day to do it. And we're going to talk a little bit about art and graphic design and endeavors of this kind. And before I forget, Jef Caine has a graphic design firm, jefcaine.com. We'll put a link to that in the description. Jeff, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I'm glad we're doing it. So tell us a little bit about your work, your life. What's new in your world?
Yeah, so I'm a illustrator, graphic designer, freelance. Let's see, what's a lot of things are new in my life, and that I just recently separated from my partner. So I'm currently living out of a van. I just made the sticker here. Living in a van because I'm sad.
Nice.
Um, that's been my coping mechanism, and of course, still doing freelance. Just started working at a coffee shop in the Phoenix area as well. So that's been a new experience for me.
Mm. I've
And
done this.
yeah.
I've done this van life. I did it for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And does your work influence this decision? For example, my experience was that I was able to focus more on some things because not having that um, uh, um, rent due every month. Tell us a little bit about how all of that factors together.
Yeah, I guess all of that applies, and that it affects my it affects my work, or my work affects my choice of living, because I have a very inconsistent or unstable income. Yeah, because it is freelance, so I get, yeah, some months I get a lot more paying gigs than others. And yes, I guess that was part of the decision, though. I mean, I guess another part of it is the the idea, kind of the dream of being a freelance van lifer, is that I can just like travel freely and work from anywhere, since I work from like coffee shops and libraries and things like that. Of course, like working at a coffee shop here in Phoenix definitely ties me to the local area, though I still feel like I have, I certainly have more financial freedom in not paying rent every month, as you say. And I feel like having like sort of a day job as well gives me a little bit of freedom and flexibility to choose my projects and my creative pursuits, rather than having to just like take whatever pays the bills.
Mm, mm, yeah, I um, so you have a background. You went to art school, something like that.
Yeah,
Uh,
Bible college, actually, which I
okay.
always tell people, if you're interested in, if you're serious about being a creative professional, I wouldn't recommend going to Bible college. I would recommend, yeah, going to art school, or possibly just going to the school of YouTube. I feel like you could learn everything you would ever need to know about Photoshop or just graphic design in general
Yeah,
through the internet for free.
that's very true. I've learned how to do a video art generation, AI video art generation, and certain aspects of the post production work that would go into making a film that way. Quite recently from YouTube, and that's been the case for a few years. But that's further simplified by having I have a plugin on my other PC that will just give plug into Claude.ai any long 2 hour YouTube video and give me a 2,000 word synopsis of what I would need to know, or 5,000 words is necessary. So it is kind of like there's everywhere is your grad school, everywhere is your art school, and so forth. So as a person who I assume you've been working in different media for a lot of years, what is your feelings on AI art? Would you work in that media? Do you like it or not like it?
Yeah, very mixed feelings about it. I have a ton of anxiety, like most digital artists do, about it just fully replacing me and my work, or the idea of someone like paying a human like me to produce something that takes time and money and energy, when they could just have an AI do it for free or for very cheaply and much faster. Yeah, I feel anxious and afraid of the prospect of me losing work out to AI. I feel like like all of us, we're all in danger of our jobs being automated away, and this is something I worry about. I think AI in general, of course, just as a concept and as kind of a cultural phenomenon, is really interesting. Like I've messed around with DALL-E and Midjourney, and now I'm playing around with Photoshop has an AI image generation built into it as well. I just saw
A lot of
Ado-
people are crowing about that one, and
yeah,
Dolly 3. Yeah.
yeah. Adobe just announced that they're now creating AI vectors for Illustrator that's in beta right now. So yeah, it's really interesting just as a tool just to play around with and stuff. And I definitely understand people who make the argument that, oh, it's just a tool, you still need an artist, you still need to pay like a human to craft the tool correctly, which maybe there's some validity to that. Ultimately, I do feel like people might be overly optimistic there,
Hmm.
in terms of, I don't know. It's just it's so easy for me to imagine someone who would normally pay me to create a graphic just going skipping the middleman, which is me, and it's going straight to the tool that they themselves could use, for much cheaper than paying me
Yeah.
real money for each new project.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm somebody who thinks that there should be job living wage job guarantees for everyone in this country. Ex convicts, people who've done bad things, doesn't matter. Everybody, and job protections besides. Basic basic income, all of the things, but in the absence of that, I would support an action, electoral or legislative action to more or less make what we're talking about illegal, if that functioned to not illegal, but if that functioned to protect workers like yourself. Even though I'm working in this media, to try to make a film. On the other hand, there was a guy named Buckminster Fuller who was a serious thinker of the mid 20th century, and he used a term called ephemeralization, which is describing being able to do more and more in the world with less and less. Something that describes the prospect of runaway AI takeoff, emerging technologies, kind of, and that's how I feel about making a film. Like I'm making an anime film, more or less, in that style, and with that kind of lip syncing as well to some degree. But that would have been the work of many people some years ago, and I feel that human beings are uplifted by being able to do more and more with less and less. So that I kind of weigh those two things, but the idea that this is not a new thing, that freelancers in particular sectors get squeezed between the sides pretty regularly, and having no real protections, often not even health care, as a lot of people have. So it's sad. It's quite sad. Um, um, well, let's go back to design things, or AI art things. So you said you play with Midjourney.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the I just read last night that Midjourney has one good trick for getting cinema quality images that you could plug into what I'm using now, Pika Labs, to make this movie. Is so apparently DALL-E 3, and I haven't played with it much yet, is really good at composition
Mm-hmm.
with prompts, and Midjourney is really good with the quality of the image.
Mm-hmm.
So a good cheat is to start with DALL-E 3 to create the essential image
Mm-hmm.
in form and composition, and when you get something that you like, then upload that to Midjourney, and then kind of clean it up that way. So I'm looking forward to cleaning up some ugly shots in my movie now. About 3/4 of the way to having a rough cut of the movie. So I'm looking forward to trying that out. Well, what else interests you in the arts? Hear your final word. What are you drawing anything or doing anything right now?
Yeah, I'm currently celebrating Nose-tober. Shoot, I should have brought my sketchbook with me, but there's Inktober, Peachtober. A couple years ago, I did Giftober, where I was trying to make an animated GIF every day
Oh,
in the month
nice.
of October. So I've been drawing just nose characters every day just for fun in my sketchbook. Um, yeah, that's something that I'm trying to lean a little bit more onto is physical pen and ink, paper, or murals, like drawing like doodles and like very like kind of rough human hand drawn style drawings on physical objects, because that's something that AI cannot replicate nearly as easily. Of course, AI can create photorealistic or cinematic or beautifully rendered image digitally in an instant, but we don't currently have sophisticated enough robot arms to draw murals on things at the moment.
Mm.
So yeah, that's something that I'm sort of pivoting to a little bit to try to compete with the machine.
Huh, that's interesting. And when you draw, do you like my phone? This little stylus guy.
Hmm.
Do you use one of those when in that way?
Yeah, I have an iPad and I use Procreate, which is a drawing app, Apple Pencil. So yes, I draw digitally as well. Though of course, like I'm like way slower and way less proficient than Midjourney. So
Yeah. Well,
I I still have my own style. I've got my own personality. I've got that going for me.
mm,
As a real flesh and blood human.
yeah. There is always, I think, going to be that limitation of it not of it seeming a little artificial, seeming a little off relative to the work of a real human being. Um, I mean, it's when I first started playing with DALL-E, it was it couldn't even draw a Gumby, it couldn't draw, and now it's doing hyper realistic. DALL-E 3 is doing stuff that very few people, no matter their training, could really make, or not very few, but yeah. When I first started using the stylus thing, then I was using it to make the comic book that this movie is based on, and but I always ended up just using my finger. I never used the stuff when drawing it. So I'm not very good with the stylus, I guess. Yeah. Well, this is a cool a cool conversation about design. What would you say to people if they want to work on a creative project? Do you think that people should do what you've done, knowing that there's things like Midjourney? Do you think that people should take the time to learn the craft? Do you think, or what approach would you recommend to people who haven't done this sort of thing before at this in 2000?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have no idea. I have no idea what to expect for the future. Or I mean, I know to expect that AI is going to just become more ubiquitous, more seamless, more faster, cheaper, better, easier. Yeah, it does seem hard to justify like putting in the time and work. There's so many people like myself who are sort of bemoaning the fact that I put in all this time and work to craft this marketable skill, and now it's just like technology's made it so that anyone can do it.
Mm,
But again, I'm sure there will be sort of this artisan niche of like, oh, this was crafted by a real life human. But I think that will be the exception, whereas AI art will probably be a little bit more of the norm. Again, it's hard to say. I'm just speculating randomly here. I mean, to a young person who's interested in this, if you're curious about AI, of course, I would say like dive fully on into that. Find a way that you can leverage that to your advantage to make a living, have some kind of unique take on it, unique business model.
mm.
Uh,
I
yeah,
used
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure what my advice would be to young people.
I used to work at a robotics after school program that did other things, including intro to design for it's basically K through 8 or a little older sometimes. And I've been thinking about this what I'm doing with Falcon X Omega Point, this sci-fi action movie I'm making. Uh, the certain aspects of it could be done by a six year old, typing in prompts and pushing generate. Not the video editing and post production stuff, but and that's I imagine there's probably programs like the ones that I worked for. I didn't only work for this one school; I also curriculum developer for another. Um, um, uh, Probably are doing doing this kind of thing. And I think that's a good side of this. Every time I hear about a potential kind of class action type thing against these big tech firms by artists or high profile artists taking some similar kind of action against them, I'm always on their side. But it's not all cut and dried. There's I think good things about it. I think just the idea that like there was not cinema a century and a half ago. There was just photography had just been around for a few years, and new technology allowed for this thing that now captures the public imagination to this high degree. I wonder what the next thing would be. Um, that and that is the kind of thing that stronger and stronger AI and more and more versatile art design AI elements will I think ultimately determine. Um, um, is there anything else? Is there anything else you want to say? We're about to go play racquetball.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a Canto Park, and we're going to go maybe try that on. Is there anything else you want to say to my little old audience about art or anything at all?
Oh, boy, I mean, thank you for listening to us just chat for a little bit. It's been fun talking to you.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
Yeah, I'm sure that a couple years from now, this conversation will seem incredibly quaint and dated, and all our predictions will be proven wrong. But it's a moment in time. This is how we're all feeling in fall of 2023.
Yeah. Hey, if you can't live without coffee, you can also visit Jeff. Can I say that
Sure, yeah,
at the Coronado Coffee Shop?
yeah,
Not too far from downtown Phoenix. Pretty well, right in the middle of downtown Phoenix.
yeah. I'm making lattes left and right at Cartel, and that's been a new experience for me as well. Having a day job, working at a coffee shop, and yeah, it's been fun. It's been an enjoyable
liking it?
practice.
Yeah.
Mhm.